All right, it's going again. Okay, so now you
Okay.
guys are fresh to continue with a calm conversation or vehement one. I don't care. I'm out of it at this point. You guys can go for another 4 hours. Okay.
Enjoy your security.
Okay. Next
Sam.
week we now have a topic. Okay. All right.
Enjoy your house. That's good. So Stacy, I'm curious if you got anything to say. If not, I got some things to do.
No, yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't realize Glenn was gonna leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can wait for next, for the
Yeah,
next
okay.
session. What I did want to say something. Oh, this it's not important and forget it. We're good. I'm
Yeah.
good.
No, I don't want to state any more than the obvious. I'm done playing that game. So we can talk about the obvious next week. Sounds good to me.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we're done, Sam. By the way, what's the name of the topic that you want to do next week?
I don't think I have a name yet. I'm just trying to figure out how we learn from this particular incident the last 5 or 10 minutes.
I predict that we won't learn it. I predict we won't learn anything from it. I'd love to be proved wrong. I would love
to prove you wrong, because I think if you're looking for group learning, you may be right. But I think individually, there may be other lessons that I think are still valuable and still extractable from this. So yeah. I think there is not a scenario where zero learning takes place.
Oh, no, there will be some learning, but being a science educator.
Wait, so let's let this calm down a little bit, and let's talk about it after things have calmed down. Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm not really upset.
You exhibited signs of upset.
Oh yeah, I raised my volume to level 14. Is that your phone ringing?
That's Stacy calling me.
Oh, you want to take that instead?
Hang on 1 second. Let me. Hey, Stacy.
Yeah, Stacy says.
Hey,
oh, so you were dramatizing.
I'm still in the Zoom session, and Barry is still there. And so, can I call you back later?
Sure, I could type into my text, or
I'll call you back later. I'll call you back in a few minutes.
I want to say something. I don't want to be recorded.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Stacy asked if I was dramatizing. I said, yeah, I was dramatizing. I had to raise my intensity to 14 on a scale of 1 to 10 to push a message through an utterly opaque filter. I learned that over a period of, I don't know how many months it's been. If I want to get a message through, I gotta have a bright enough light, an intense enough light to get through a totally opaque filter.
I think that's the wrong metaphor.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I've been looking for a method of communicating where nothing seems to get through, and I.
Yeah, because see, I know I'm on the record here, but to me, it looks like you've already made up your mind that you don't care what Colin thinks. Okay, so when he knows that you don't care what he thinks, why should you think he cares what you think?
He doesn't.
Right. So why should you care?
Except for one thing, and this is the racket that we didn't dive into.
Stacy's rejoining, by the way.
Okay, that's fine.
Hey, Stacy, I guess you're back.
Stacy, you here?
Maybe back.
Yeah, I just want to, as long as I want to listen in. I don't want to miss stuff.
Basically, okay. Glenn led into the racket. Glenn says, why do you have to prove anything? Remember, that was the last thing he said. Because the question is, why when Colin insists that if you make a claim, you got to prove it, you got to back it up. And Glenn says, why? And I have a theory, an hypothesis.
Wait, you don't need a theory, because I understand why.
Then let me hear your version of why.
Okay, here's my theory of what Colin is trying to say, okay? Imagine Colin living his life, okay? Things are going hunky-dory, okay? And I know I'm talking about Colin right now, but he's just like a placeholder name right now, okay? And now somebody comes to Colin and says, you must believe in the flying spaghetti monster. and you must worship the flying spaghetti monster. You must, thank the flying spaghetti monster, and you must let him guide your life. And now, that is how you must live your life. And Colin's here saying, why should I? Show me proof that there's a flying spaghetti monster that's actually going to influence my life. That is what I think Colin is saying. And now he's saying, I was living my life fine. If you think something's going to affect my life, its burden of proof is on you to show me that there's a flying spaghetti monster. Otherwise, I don't need to accept it. So whoever is saying there is a flying spaghetti monster now either has to show Colin that there is one, or he's free to disregard it. That's my interpretation.
Yeah, different from mine. Quite a bit different from mine, in fact.
That is my interpretation.
Yeah.
Is that a fair interpretation?
Well, not with respect to my issue with Colin, no.
Well, is that what he thinks is happening in this religion conversation?
I don't know. I don't know what.
Stacey, what do you think?
I'm actually not paying attention. I'm answering Colin on a text right now. So,
Ooh, hidden agendas all over the place.
Well, actually, hidden agendas and rackets. See, I formed an hypothesis about a week or so ago, and I wanted to share it to see whether or not this hypothesis even makes sense, let alone is likely to be on target. It's an insight. Because I was remembering when we're talking about hidden agendas and charades and charlatans and fakers and hoaxes and all this kind of stuff, what I remembered from the forum was this thing about rackets. And you've been there, you know this, what I'm talking about. So I thought maybe this is a racket. And if it's a racket, it fits already what I know. Because what I do know is that when Colin has an argument with somebody in a protracted conversation, what he calls a conversation, the other party will say things which sound very good, that in terms of the semantics and the phrasing, they sound quite plausible. And then what you'll find is after about a month or so, Colin will start parroting that same phraseology. It goes into his jukebox. And I know this for a fact because I know he's got a lot of it from me. Just the word agnotology, I know that he got from me, among others. And I think that the reason he loves the argument culture is it's a racket. It's how he gets phrases.
Okay, so I must object here. I
Okay.
think you're now projecting your theory of mind on Colin.
It's a hypothesis. I'm saying it's a hypothesis that I wanted to get out and see if it has any merit.
So my question to you is, regardless of whether it's accurate or not, are you willing to verify that by direct communication with Colin?
I tried that.
So are you willing to?
I tried that for something like 16 hours over.
Right. But keep in mind that was a long time ago, right? So you had a different biology, different mindset, different conditions, different time of day, different energy level. That was behind. I'm saying, are you willing to try it again?
No.
Okay, that's because you've made up your mind. If you're now,
It's because I have
projecting onto you that you don't care what he thinks.
I have a history of futility. I have a 6-month history of futility.
Okay, so either you could keep trying the same thing or you try something different.
Well, I've tried a few different things, but the thing I wanted to try that was really different is to form a working hypothesis that I don't know if it's correct or not, and share it with people who are, like me, reasonably scientific thinkers and see if there's any merit to it.
Well, I was trying to do the same thing. I tried to give you one theory of mind, well, I call it a mental model of Colin, but you didn't seem to want to discuss it.
Because it doesn't fit. For example, Colin, when you say flying spaghetti monster, that's a satire, that's a parody. Okay.
Okay, replace it by the word God.
Okay, but now you have to say, what's the definition of this 3-letter word, which I gave. It
Doesn't matter. That's your definition. It's not mine. It's not
I didn't
Colin's.
make
It's not
it up.
Stacey's.
I pulled it out of the theological literature.
It doesn't matter. You know that definitions vary among people.
Yeah.
It does not matter where it comes from. Nobody shares ubiquitously the same definition. Why should you assume that it does?
But that tells me that he's not listening.
No, that does not. The fact that I don't share your definition of God doesn't mean that I'm not listening. I'm listening intently.
Do you disbelieve in the existence of the process of becoming?
To me, I don't call that God.
It's just a pronoun.
No, it does matter because you ascribe other properties to that pronoun. If I call it the universe, I have other properties and you probably have other properties that we probably share regarding the universe. But if you call it God, we're probably going to disagree on some other properties.
God is an English word, but the original definition was not even in English. I don't think English
Of
even
course
exists.
not. English didn't exist back there.
Right. Do you believe in apotheosis?
And mean a theory of everything coming together, or is that what
No.
you mean?
Apotheosis means if you have a hierarchy of values, you have human and cultural values, and you say, here are all the values that I think are really important, and you make a hierarchy of them, and you say, this is the topmost value in my system of values. Apotheosis is identifying the uppermost value.
To me, that's not a useful conversation right now, because mine's going to be different from yours.
I understand that people do not have the same,
Right.
that your highest value and Doug's highest value can be different. I mean, you know, when Kayla shows a $2 bill with Jefferson, but the $1 bill has Washington, that's the apotheosis of the presidency to the highest value in, you know, the monetary structure of the government. Okay?
That's one interpretation. I don't share that interpretation.
I don't dislike, I love Jefferson better than Washington. But the point is apotheosis is a phenomenon. And then if you say, this is the value that I think is most sacred, most important, most inviolate, the one I don't want to have, you know, thrown away, that's the deification. Is apotheosis is deification. That's what it is.
Okay, that's in your world, which is fine. I
Yeah.
get it. But that doesn't necessarily have to apply to anyone else.
Well, most people don't study at the level of abstraction that you and I study at.
So I don't understand the vehemence then.
If let's say that you come into a conversation that's going to be at the graduate level,
I don't even know what that means either.
the way that you would talk to your peers at Stanford.
Okay, so the way I talk to my peers, okay, fine, I understand that.
And somebody comes in who purports to be one of your peers at the graduate level Stanford, they talks like a fifth grader. That's
How
only
long have I spoken to him? How long do I have to make that conclusion?
that's interesting because I'm the last one to draw the conclusion that this is really a fifth grader. Other people will say it right away. Oh, this guy's an imposter. I'm the last person to figure out that somebody's an imposter.
So how long must I be in conversation with this person to conclude that's a fifth grader?
You're gonna have to tell me the answer because I don't know how long. I don't know.
You're the one that posed this scenario.
Yeah. And for me, I'm invariably the last person to figure out that somebody's an imposter.
Okay, I've heard you say that
For
3
me,
times
for
now.
me, it can be close to a year or longer before I figure out that somebody is posing. They're the great pretender, that they can talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And people can be very articulate and say things that sound very erudite, but they're just.
Okay, so how do we tie this back to the vehemence?
The vehemence is about raising the intensity of the message so it gets through an opaque filter.
You said, though, that you don't care what's on the other end of that filter. So why do you care to send that message through to the other side?
Because I don't want to keep coming to GCC and wasting 75% of my time waiting for the conversation to get around to something.
So you do care because you think that the other side is going to basically manipulate these conversations
Yes.
in a way that you're going to be dissatisfied. So you do care. Don't say you don't care then.
I don't care what he thinks. I care that he takes up all this time.
You care
Stacey's-
about the behavior and
Yes.
the airtime and the airspace.
Yes, yes.
Fine, I get that.
And
I
it's
get that.
not,
So,
it's not.
As a result, that's why I'm saying, what is the 1 or 2 set of practices you would love to propose
Okay,
as an
Thank you.
RC or a how-to that we
yeah,
could discuss and potentially adopt
yes.
that would prevent this vehemence, prevent this kind of reaction, prevent
Yes.
this waste of energy, waste of
Yes.
time
Yes,
in the future.
yeah, and I
That's
wrote
my
it.
request. That's
I
my
wrote
ask.
it, I wrote it to Doug and to you in at least 3 different venues. I wrote it, including just today. Because, and when, I don't know if you had your camera off, so I don't know if you were attending or not. But when you turned your camera off, Colin spoke for about 20 minutes, I think it was. And I was watching, of the other 3 people who had their cameras on, I was carefully looking at their countenance.
This is after 2-hour mark.
This was around the 3-hour mark, I think.
Yeah, so that was when I was letting the dogs out, and you know.
Yeah, so I don't think you were present. So I was looking now. Kayla is usually smiling, and and I'm looking at Kayla, and she's like this. And then I look at Teese, and he's like this. And I look at Alex, and he's like this. So I'm getting, just by observing, that everybody's bored to tears. They're not really paying attention. And Colin is going on and on and on. And Stacy, I think, is still in the shower, so there's no picture to look at. And at that point, I wrote a private note to Kayla, and I said, Kayla, if you're bored, I can open a breakout room, and 2 or 3 of us can go have a conversation that we're interested in. And that was the idea. That was the concept of, if somebody is going on and on their own hobby horse, and you're bored to tears because you don't want to listen for 30 minutes for this hobby horse, Zoom offers a breakout room. Now, Doug tried it the other way around. He tried sending Colin to a timeout room, but you can come back voluntarily. So I said to Doug, do it the other way around. We all go to the breakout room and leave Colin in the lobby. So we can go and have a conversation about what we're all interested in, and Colin can sit in the lobby and do whatever he does. But you can't send him to the breakout because he has the power to come back. Stacy.
So I just, if it's okay, I'd like to just take the conversation off of Colin for a minute. Sam, I don't think you were there when, I had brought a suggestion that I didn't get to talk about, which is, I was curious to know, for each person in the room, what would be something we'd want to hear them talk on? So let's say, I said, well, I would want to hear Sam talk about this, and Barry would say and you'd get 7 different things. And then you would choose the one you actually want to talk about. And then there'd be a meeting between something that the speaker's passionate about and something that people actually want to hear. I was told that it should be done the opposite way, but it shouldn't be done the opposite way.
I don't even know what the opposite way is.
Well, Colin was suggesting that the person should come knowing what they want to talk about. But I wholeheartedly disagree, because you have to care about what your audience wants or what the other people in the room want.
Right.
And so chances are, though, if there's 7 people telling me what it is they'd want to know, I mean, maybe there are some that don't want to hear anything. And while that might be hard for them to say, I would respect that more. But it would be interesting to see if there are any similarities in the type of things that people want to hear from different people. But again, it's an interactive thing, because then, the speaker gets to pick what they really enjoy talking about, and the listener gets to, if I have to listen to somebody, I at least want them to be talking about something that is of interest to me.
Yeah.
I actually think this is a good idea for a long-running process. In other words, not just for a single session, but just in general. There ought to be, like, when I think of it, I could say, oh man, this is Tuesday, it's not a Saturday, but next time I talk to Stacy, I really want to bring up this topic with her. And
Well,
have that kind of a list with everybody.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, not even to carry it forward, but just to take the 5 minutes to do it. Not that anybody has to feel pressured to follow up, but just to see what thoughts came out. And then later on, somebody had mentioned something about wisdom not being valued. And wisdom is a very subjective kind of thing, but it's interesting to see what other people think is your wisdom. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Stacy, I think a week ago, said you felt, Sonny, you felt blocked because other people were using up the airtime and you could never get around to whatever it was you wanted to say.
Yeah,
And
no,
that
I
was how you-
wasn't really speaking about myself because as you can see, I've just pushed myself forward. No, but I was bringing out a point, how some people that might not want to, for whatever reason, take the actions that I take, they'll just leave because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you a short story. And I did have this very direct interaction with Colin. So I have no issue relating it here.
That's the
And I know
30-minute
it's on the record.
one-on-one?
Huh?
Is that the 30-minute one-on-one that you posted or a different one?
I think it was via text. So
Okay,
I think we actually didn't have a conversation about it. But I actually said, I started it by saying something like, Colin, it would really help me if you even just do spell check on
Yeah.
what you said.
I saw.
I remember that.
Do you remember that one?
Yep.
Okay, so I think I probably did it in public. I
I
said,
think
not
you
just
will.
even spell check, but like,
In
why don't you
chat.
like try, crafting your message before you send it.
Yes.
He had an issue with me in Zulip because once you send something in Zulip, after 10 minutes, it's no longer editable.
Correct.
In the first 10 minutes, you can edit it because you could have checked, spelling, added a note, added a picture, whatever the heck it is, but it gives you 10 minutes to do that. And after 10 minutes, it is now immutable. So he said, I don't like this. I need to be able to go back and correct what I say because I just say things on the spur of the moment, whatever the heck he said. And I said, well, maybe you should actually prepare your statement before you send it so that you're comfortable with it being on the record.
Right. Think before you speak.
Yeah. And I don't think was very happy about that, but then he went away and said he might do that. But
Yeah.
that is what I recall.
I
Okay.
challenged him to write a one-page essay, like a blog essay, 3 paragraphs with, maybe 5 sentences per paragraph that articulates a thesis. And he's never done that. As far as I know, he's never written even a complete paragraph on a thesis.
Well, the reason I mentioned that is because you or Stacy mentioned something about taking up too much airtime, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if there's a specific point you want to make and you relate it to something else that was being discussed and you make that point and you make it succinctly, hopefully coherently, and then you stop, then people can actually hear what you said, understand it, assimilate it, understand the context of it.
Right.
What I hear too much in some of these conversations is stream of consciousness.
Yes.
This leads to this, and I think about that, and oh, by the way, there's this, and oh, by the way, somebody tells a joke about that, so let's go off on that tangent, blah, 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 blah. So that stream of consciousness does not allow focus.
Yes. Absolutely.
If we do value focus, then we should detect when these distractions, when these deflections, when these streams of consciousness go down, tributaries, to say, okay, wait, is that staying on topic? Is that being focused? And if not, can we get back on focus? Or is this so important it needs to now replace the original focus and become the focus?
Yeah.
That I think we need to do in group interactions better, rather than just allowing stream of consciousness to go on and on. For what, 20 minutes you said?
Yes.
That's a long stream of consciousness rant.
And
And for someone to say, okay, we've got a 2-hour session and I'm going to take up 20 minutes of it. And oh, by the way, when I start, I'm not really going to know what I'm going to say. And when I end, I don't really know what I'm really actually concluding.
Yeah.
That is 20 minutes out of a planned 2-hour time slot that's, being attended by 9 people.
stolen time. It's stolen time and attention.
So
That's
this
the
is why
unfair thing.
I value focus, is because I know that my end of life is near.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm 76.
Okay. So I want to make the best of it, whatever's left. Okay. And so I want us to appreciate that about each other. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm spending 5 minutes saying something, I want that be a good 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. And not to take 20 minutes doing it. If I could do it in 3.
Yes.
That I think is a skill I would love to see embraced and practiced within these conversations.
Absolutely. So, remember, Stacy, when Colin had the baby who was crying, so he was typing sentence fragments and he wanted you to read them. And Stacy, you said, I can't read them. These are not sentences. These are just word combinations, phrases. They're not even a clause.
Some
You
of them
couldn't
are not even words. There's,
And that's the problem I have. I go, if I try to take a transcript of that and figure out how can I diagram a sentence out of that and get the semantic content, I can't. They're not even sentences. They're just little, sound bites of memes and phrases and word combinations that nobody knows what they mean. Who wants to listen to 20 minutes of a jukebox doing sound bites of 3 or 4 words in, strung together? What's the point of that?
okay, so I've probably said my piece. And we've been going for over 4 hours. So I think I'm gonna go get some food.
It's only 8 minutes after 3, so it's only been a few minutes after 4 hours. But I thank you for your patience with me. I think we got to get this out and deal with it.
By the way, Barry,
Yeah.
I think this is about coexistence for me. When we have
Yeah.
incidents like this, I
Yeah,
want to know how to navigate it, either as a third party or as a second party or as a first party.
yeah. Well,
This is what I think it's all about.
we tried that
And
back in January.
ideally,
It blew up in
you
my
do it
face.
without getting to levels where your cortisol gets to dangerous levels. Okay. So that's what I think this is all about. This is all about coexistence on the way towards co-visioning, sense making, and all the co-creation.
Right.
And coexistence to me is a core. That's why I think it's important. And that's why I reappeared. And that's why I said what I said and made the proposal that I did. And I'm really trying to do this, okay? I want us here to learn how to do this well. Because if we can't, we got no business calling ourselves global collaboration anything.
Yeah, what I say, diverse challenges endurance run. That's what I'm observing it to be.
That's a cynical way of doing it, okay? And I don't think I need to go cynical,
Yeah.
okay? But I do think there is value here. And if people think that the disagreement is an indication that things are not working, then they don't understand what's going on. I think working through these disagreements is exactly why we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, something has to be done with misreading intentions, though, because I can tell you firsthand, I know that Colin's take on Barry's reaction and what he thinks Barry's reason for that reaction is not what it is. So I don't know how that gets bridged without other people like Sam or myself, without somebody getting involved.
Can you see
Because-
vice versa also?
Said, yes, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
They both have inaccurate mental models or theories of mind about the other.
But Barry knows,
I had the null model of him way back.
No, you do not have a null model, Barry. I
Not
challenge you on
today,
that one.
not today, but back in January, I told him I have the null model of you.
No, that's still not true.
but you and I have had many conversations where I've told you my theory of mind of what was going on. You, right? I mean, and then I would verify it with Colin, got him to say it on the record. Do you remember that?
You're gonna have to be more specific because there's so much content back there that's all
Okay.
lost in the
I'll let you
Well,
guys do this.
mass of it.
I'm gonna go get food now, okay?
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you, okay?
Goodbye. Yeah, I'll just say real quick and then I'll get off, where he felt that you were playing a game with him and he was coming from a place that he felt he was being manipulated for your entertainment. And that's not what you were trying to do, but that's how he was feeling.
I was certainly not entertained by having an adversation with Colin. And it's suffering. It's like pulling teeth. You try to get a piece of information that you can understand and you get gibberish.
You know how many times like I'll ask a question and somebody will say, why do you ask? Matter of fact, you reminded me, I was going to ask if that's fair conversation to answer a question with, why are you asking me? I want to know if that's fair conversation. And sometimes I think it is. I mean, sometimes if you ask me a question, I might say, why do you ask? Because your answer will shape the way I give the answer. Not that I'm going to change my answer, but I know what you're looking for and I can get to the point.
Yeah,
But
usually it's because I want to understand something I'm foggy about.
right, I understand. But sometimes people will say, you know, it'll be a why do you ask? And they feel like you're looking to set them up.
Or to expose them or to find
They
fault.
think, right, right. And I have known a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And they will go out of their way to give you like a shady answer, to not
Right.
really answer.
Evasive answer. If they got something to hide or they don't want to disclose, you get they'll answer, but they give an evasive answer that's off topic, that takes up a lot of time, but doesn't respond to the uncertainty that you're trying to resolve. And that's what I found, is that I couldn't get any information that resolved any uncertainty in my mind. And so I end up with a null model. I can't get any reliable stuff except for one thing. The guy can talk for 8 hours and not say a damn thing.
But anyway, I'm gonna get off. Have a great weekend.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not sure if I will be there tomorrow, but I will try to at least be for part of it.
Yeah, tomorrow's Sunday, right? So, okay,
Although Sam did a good job of unblocking today.
excellent.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And Sam, I'm going to close it too. So thank you for your patience and your perseverance.